Well, it looks like I clicked the wrong button, and hopefully you can hear me. Yes, I see that you can. Uh, I, this is titled Wednesday Wisdom. I will have to fix that because it's not Wednesday, it's Monday. And I was going to type it Happy Monday. Let's see, can I change it midstream? What would happen? We're doing real time science here. Real time science. Monday. All right. API connection has expired. All right. Well, hello, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and of course, YouTube. Happy Monday. My name is Frank Lavinia, and let's check this out. Where is it? Where is it? There we go. Here I am. You can check me out at franksworld.com, datadriven.tv, or impactquantum.com. In case you're wondering, I say, hey, Frank, the studio looks a little different today where you live stream. I'm actually in the process of moving. If you see some shadowy figures back there walking around, that's because I'm getting the old house ready to sell. And so I have a bit of a skeleton set up here because the kids go to the old school. So I drive them to and from. And I basically sit here in what was my wife's office, which is now, I guess, the temporary office. Um, Still working on emptying the house. Or hopefully, the goal is that by the end of this week, we'll just be the monitor, webcam, table, and chairs, so I can we can move out. And that is what I was going to say. So. Just a couple of heads up here. If you've not already subscribed to the Data channel, I highly recommend you do. Andy and I, something Andy and I put together to help people. And let's see, you can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. I want to share with you some high impact stories, which I know that technically High Impact Tuesday is tomorrow, but I figured get a jump on the week because I stopped at Starbucks today and I'm feeling pumped. I stopped at Starbucks today and I listened to Grant Cardone on the way down. So it's about a 45-minute drive, in case you're wondering. But ultimately, a couple of interesting things here. Obviously, the ongoing situation in Ukraine, I think, is ultimately going to lead out to a much larger conflict, unfortunately, barring a miracle. But I think ultimately that the first phase of that larger conflict, unfortunately, will be some kind of cyber warfare attack, um, and I think it's good to get educated on what that's going to look like. If you lived in the Northeast last spring and summer, when there was a attack on the SCADA systems for the Colonial Pipeline, you'll know that it starts virtual, but it gets very real very fast. I remember as a child hearing about gas lines and the time I didn't drive, and where we lived in New York City, so there was alternatives. But I remember sitting in a gas line, running my car as I was nearing empty, which was a very enlightening experience, one that I thought I'd never have to experience. Yet here we are. Couple of other interesting things here. Fireship, which does 100 seconds of a given technology, has actually done this review of Perl. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Perl was the language of the internet in the late 90s. Definitely was if you wanted to be a web developer at any point in time, I mean, it was there. It fell out of favor for reasons many and big and small, but it's still around and it's still popular amongst certain sections of sysadmins. So if you want to learn a little bit about it, I highly recommend it. This video actually gets into a bit of a Perl versus Python, although I would say Python's kind of the leading language now, certainly in AI and ML and data. As for me, I like being multilingual. A lot of talk here about kind of today's kind of the buzzwords, right? Low code, no code. Here's a great video on low-code machine learning in SageMaker. All these links are on franksworld.com. My camera is normally there, but I'm trying to get used to talking to this. It's been awkward in some meetings. Basically, low-code, no-code, discussion of what NFTs really are. What are they actually? And speaking of retro vibe, this is a bit of a retro vibe. Anytime you mention Perl, come on, even Perl developers have to admit that it's a bit of a retro vibe. The genius engineering of the 3.5-inch floppy disk. So you may not even remember that. Looking to the future, here's an interesting look at some OpenAI, the DALL-E project, and some of the artwork that's created. And some interesting work going on organic transistors. How would you print up your own CPUs at home potentially? Very interesting video from Anastasia and Tech. Highly recommend it. Of course, you can go to franksworld.com, check them all out. And here's an interesting thing here about the 5 billion Lion, I think that's how you pronounce it, a 5 billion image text pair data set, free and open source for all your computer vision training needs. I'm excited that this is not just exists, but it's open source. As I've finally seen the light on open source. Not finally, but a couple of years ago I did. I kind of saw the writing on the wall, which ultimately led to where I am now at Red Hat. Finally, and this is not on the blog yet, on Friday and Thursday, I moderated the panel discussion with Esther Dyson and Graham, I'm forgetting his last name, about the metaverse and what it is. And what's interesting about it is that we didn't talk so much about the technology. This was a fascinating discussion. It'll be on franksworld.com shortly. Recording. We didn't talk about technology. Believe it or not, we talked mostly about governance, which I thought was an interesting kind of take, because when you hear metaverse, you think, you know, the gloves, the goggles, the Oculus, whatever it is that you use. But the discussion really kind of went into the governance of it, like who owns what, how does that work, and it's not surprising given Esther Dyson's kind of history with ICANN, and she's a very very smart cookie, very tough cookie too. It was an interesting conversation. But as I've always said, is that the metaverse is very real already to in a lot of ways, right? I mean, the metaverse as it exists in Snow Crash, which is where the term comes from, isn't quite real in that sense. In some ways it is. You know, I reread Snow Crash and it was interesting because it, you know, some aspects of it were very prophetic, and some aspects have not come true. Thankfully, some have not. Unfortunately, some have come true. But I think to a lot of kids, particularly the Roblox set, the Minecraft set, that virtual space is very real. I see my kids kind of, you know, playing these games on Roblox, and it's very, very real. And it's interesting to see that kind of play out. To them, those spaces are just as real as real world spaces. And, you know, they don't need the gloves and the goggles, right? Because they have the device. I think the emphasis on the 360 kind of immersive experience has been on the hardware. But I don't think you don't need that hardware, because to them, like I said, those spaces are real. In fact, we're moving, right? And one of the things that both my kids are doing is they're playing games and they're talking with their old friends from their old school, just like we were still living here. How's that going to work in a new school year? I don't know yet. Stay tuned. Life sometimes is the greatest experiment of all. And we're going to see how that plays out. But to them, at least, it gives them kind of the confidence or the comfort, I guess would be the real word, of they can still be in touch with their friends. And they can still be in touch with their friends even though they move. I think that it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. And very interesting kind of time and place to be. So here I want to share, speaking of Red Hat, this is an interesting report. You can go to that URL. I do need to get a URL shortener that is customizable. Bitly apparently charges now to get a custom URL, like at the end, where I would say MLOps report. So we'll have to deal with that for now. But definitely check that out. It's the total economic impact of Red Hat Hybrid Cloud for MLOps. I'll have more to say about that in the future live stream, but I read the report. It's very cool. And hopefully, if you're interested, let me know in the comments. I'll talk more about what OpenShift can do for your data science projects. Let me know in the comments below. Maybe get somebody from the team to kind of interview and talk about the product. We definitely have had enormous success with Boston University, and you can use your search engine of choice to find out that. So with that, I am going to cut the stream early at about 11 minutes or so. Hopefully you're having a great day, and I'm going to play some fancy graphics to end the show. Maybe I'll stream later, I don't know. Give you a tour of the new studio, which is still kind of under construction. Talk to you later.